guys, Alyssa here. I am back finally with my March wrap up. I'm looking at the stack of books that I read in March, and I feel like March went on forever. I have 17 books, which is more than I thought I was gonna have, and now I'm dropping them all on the floor for you from this month. And I mean, I have all kinds of books. I have regular size books. I have big books. I have nonfiction books. I have middle grade, like picture books. I have a lovely array of books for you to go over for March. And so I'm just gonna hop into this because I don't want this video to be very long because I only have so many hours free to myself to edit and film and shower and sleep and do laundry and get back to the hospital. So let's get into this now. I have my handy dandy reading log, which I think is from Book Riot. I'm fairly certain that's where it's from. So I'm looking at the first book I finished for the month, and I feel like I read this in February, which is why I'm a little shocked right now. But the first book I read is The Toll, which is the last book in the arc of the Scythe series. Scythe. Alyssa can't talk. She can't do a lot of things right now, but we're gonna do this. We're gonna power through. Spaniel Schusterman. It is a fantastic series. I was shocked at how much I absolutely love this entire series. I think Thunderhead, which is the second book, is the best of all three. I love the AI in this. I have such a, there's a moment in The Toll with the AI where my heart breaks. It's so beautiful. But it's a dystopian. I don't want to go too much into depth about this one because it's the last book, but it's basically a YA dystopian fantasy series. You've got these where everybody, you've eliminated all kinds of disease and anything that would cause people to die. So now everybody's basically immortal. And there's people that have to basically cull certain humans a certain amount every year just to make sure we don't overpopulate the world. And the whole series is around the repercussions of basically all of that. It's a really short and easy way to describe it. It probably doesn't do it justice, but if somehow you have not read this series, do it. It's amazing. You will not regret it. The next book on my list is A Heart So Fierce and Broken, which is the second in the series that started with A Curse So Dark and Lonely, which was all right. We were having a little discussion about this book yesterday, and I think a few of us were hurting some other people's feelings. I don't care about this series. It's not that I don't like it. I don't get the hype, I guess. It's not bad. It's not great. There were way better YA Beauty and the Beast retellings. I think the ending of this book turned it around for me. There's a lot of stuff in the middle I didn't really care about. I really like the character Gray. I like that Gray gets his own love interest, and this didn't go the route of ACOTAR and people switching partners somewhere in the middle. So that I like. But in general, don't really care. I'll keep reading it because I don't know, I'm just sort of interested to see what happens, sort of in a yeah, I'll get to that eventually way, not I need to know what happens. Plus I kind of am hopeful that at some point it's gonna click for me why this is so beloved. But hey, we all have different tastes. It's not bad, it was fine. I'm not giving any star ratings for this because I'm too tired. And, ooh, The Night Film. All right, this is a fantastic book. It's an older book. This is Marisha Pessl, and it is a film noir in your hands that you can read. There is the death of a girl, and she's the daughter of this mysterious underground cult horror film director who has this whole mystique around him, and everything is shrouded in questions and mystery and darkness, and it's just gritty, and it's in New York, and it's New York when you could smoke everywhere. So it's this dark and gritty, smoke-filled, horror-filled book, and it's got some of that multimedia aspect like Illuminae does. And this is older than Illuminae, so I mean, I like that. So you've got like news clippings and all this stuff. So your main character is trying to figure out if this person who died really committed suicide or was there more to the story, and that kind of unravels some of the mysteries with her father. And it's really freaking good, and it's beautifully written. There are some like beautiful I don't really annotate my books, but if there's like a quote or a section that just absolutely like I want to be able to remember, I do tab that because I want to go back and sometimes read those because there were some good ones in here. Night Film, get it. And I found that in my library book barn before the whole world closed down for $1, so that was a good find. So that was a big beastie. This is another big beastie for the month. I finished the Dark Artifices this month, and I still really like this series. I haven't read because I've read all of these out of order. This is where I started. Then I went back to Infernal Devices, and eventually I will go to the Mortal Instruments with a stopover at Chain of Gold. But so far, I think this is my favorite series because there's so much character development, and I can see going back to Infernal Devices how Cassandra Clare's writing has improved and become more lyrical and beautiful, and her characters have better development, and her plots aren't, and they're still kind of contrived, but it is YA, but they're not as contrived. So I mean, I really like this series. I don't really know how to explain this to you because it's the last one in a series. It's also well known, so if you don't know what this is, I don't know what to tell you. But I would try it, and I know I hurt people when I say that I'm reading these all out of order, but I'm sorry, I read the math backwards, and that's just gonna have to deal with it. I'm dealing with it. That's it. I thought they were standalone series, and they kind of are, with like guest appearances from other people. So you can do it. That's what I'm saying, is you don't have to follow all the rules. Lacey. Yeah, you know I'm talking to you. Anyway, so the next thing I read was the much beloved and anticipated, and I don't understand it, The Shadows Between Us. Yeah, Hemi didn't like it either. Anyway, so this is about this girl who wants to take over this kingdom. We're just gonna ignore the dog. Wants to take over this kingdom, and it says it here on the flap. She wants to gain power by 1, ruling the Shadow King, 2, marrying him, 3, killing him, and taking the kingdom for herself. So there's this king who's very powerful, and he's got all these weird, creepy shadows that are around him, and like nobody can touch him, and there's all this mystery, and she catches his eye, and you know, love ensues, like plans go awry. She's got to protect him from all the other people trying to kill him for his kingdom, yada yada yada. It is very YA in a way that I might be too old for. Yeah, I mean, it was fine. I mean, it's just, I think what bothered me is that, like, I read a lot of things that are much more well-researched and stuck in sort of some time period, and this was in like a vague, maybe Renaissance-y. I don't even know when this is supposed to be. Historically speaking, it wasn't in any context. I know that it's a fantasy, but I feel like it could have been better executed. It's fluffy, like it's a nice fluffy read. So, I mean, it's not bad. If I judge it like as a fluffy read, it's a good fluffy read. Like 3.5 stars, 3 stars, like it's fine. It's not bad. I enjoyed it. I thought the Shadow King was really cool as a character. And I think if somebody like Ali Bardugo took the Shadow King and put him in a better constructed world that wasn't like a cartoony fantasy world, it could have been amazing. But I'm just gonna shit all over this book, and I feel bad. I hate shitting on books. I didn't like it. All right, we're moving on. Oh, so I had a couple buddy reads this month, and one of them was Pride and Prejudice, which we did all throughout the month. And this is an amazing book, and it's like this, I don't even know how many times I've reread this, but this is multiple times over reread for me. I love this book so much. I'm just so mad I couldn't participate in, we watched the newest movie version after we all finished, and I couldn't participate because I was sick and I was asleep, and because we're all over different time zones, and we watched it too late for my tired self. But if you haven't read this, just read it. Because you all know this is coming because I did an entire reading vlog on it. My favorite book of probably the year. I'm gonna say it now. This is a huge contender. It's definitely top 5. It's only April, beginning of April, so maybe something will come out. Crescent City, House of Earth and Blood. This is so good, and I understand why people love Sarah J. Maas now. I didn't really understand it with Aquatar. Like, I got it, like, it was fine. Like, Aquamath was good. Like, I enjoyed it way better than the first one. The second and third one dragged a bit, but it was still good. But I wasn't like, yes, Sarah J. Maas, like, I'm here for you. Like, all the stars, this book is so good. I'm not gonna say anymore because there's a whole reading vlog on it, but like, I cried. You go watch the reading vlog. I'm gonna link it down below in case for some reason you haven't seen me literally cry reading this book. It is so good, and I'm mad that I have to wait for another one, but I will be probably rereading this before the year is out because it's so good. I read 2, I think, 1 or 2 ebooks, and one of them was called the Jane Austen Project, which was it's a Jane Austen sort of fanficky spin-off thing. I don't know how to classify that, but basically the idea is it's like a space travel-y sci-fi thing where people travel back in time because they sort of like idolize Jane Austen like as a society, and they're trying to go back in time to get to know Jane Austen and save her so she doesn't die, so she can write more. This is a terrible retelling of this book, but these 2 people go back in time and they eventually make contact with Jane Austen, and then eventually they come back from Jane Austen, and there's all these different timelines. There's like multiple timelines that comes out. I think I just spoiled the book. It was weird for me. I don't think I really liked it that much because it was just weird for me. I just feel like Jane Austen and sci-fi don't need to go together. Maybe they do for somebody else, but for me, they can be separate. Anyway, by the way, this thing, it's got like a little disc in it, and it's covered in peppermint essential oils. This is the only thing when I'm home that's saving me. It came in my bookship box this month, and I do rep for them, so I'll leave a link down below. But this thing is amazing. It's so good. I don't know how I lived without this because I like can't breathe. I still have stuff in my lungs. I did have, thankfully, only bronchitis, but it was really bad, and I mean, just chest infections take a long time to heal, so I am still trying to get through that. Anywho, that's enough rambling. I also read Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. I mean, I thought it was really cool to read a book that was inspired by a book that she's already written. It's like very meta to like read this book that's in another book, and I love fangirl. I don't know if I care about this. I thought it was neat that like you had this Technicolor crazy homosexual Harry Potter with cursing, but I don't know if I really love any of the characters that much. I mean, I will read Wayward Son just to complete the thing. I think it's a neat exercise. I just don't know. It's not fangirl. It wasn't bad. I don't mind. But it wasn't fangirl. I think fangirl's way better. I read, the other ebook I read is To Have and to Hoax, which was an arc, and it is out actually today that I'm filming this. It's out April 7th, so it should be out now. It's Regency romance where it's a love to hate to love story with misunderstandings. There is a really good sex scene. I will say the smut is incredibly well written and realistic and not confusing. Sometimes I feel like I'm reading and I'm like, it sounds like a game of Twister, like it doesn't even make sense. But so like it's not sexy. It's me going like, how did that get there? Because that would break. I don't understand. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But it was really good. I thought it was cute. It was sweet. I personally can find the love stories that are centered around the trope of misunderstandings can get tedious. They do start to unfold the misunderstanding and unpack it and fix it sort of not too late in the story, so it's not tedious for too long. But I don't know if it's the trope for me, but it's really well written, and I liked the love story in general, and I loved the smut. I thought the smut was good. So if you like that trope, I think you'll really like this book. I just like other tropes. So I only read one sort of thrillery sci-fi thing, and that was Recursion by Blake Crouch. It was all right. It's got this whole, like, I don't even know how to explain this, but basically, like, people can, like, relive their lives and sort of redo them and go back and try to make them better, but there's all these obviously, like, outcomes, like poor outcomes that come from people going back in time and trying to fix the things that happened in the past so that the future can be better. It's quick and easy, and it was well written. But I've heard that Dark Matter is even better than this, and I have it on my shelf, so I kind of want to read that to see if I like it, because I didn't dislike this. It's like middle of the road, like I'm 50-50, like it was okay. It was interesting. Like I just didn't have like an emotional connection to it. Like it was interesting. I wanted to see what happened. The end is a little crazy, but I wanted this to mess up my brain more. Like I wanted this to, like, I was expecting more like mind fuckery, and there wasn't. It was just kind of thrillery and sci-fi. But it was good because I didn't get mind fucked by Recursion. I did read this one nonfiction this month, and it's The Great Influenza, and I've already talked about this a couple times on the Instagram, so I'm not going to over discuss this. I'm not going to over talk this, but it's just a look at the history behind the 1918 influenza epidemic. The afterword of this book goes into, this is written in 2004, and the afterword of this book goes into what would happen if we had a pandemic today. Reading this while we're having a pandemic of the flu is terrifying, because there's a lot of parallels here to 1918. There's a lot of things that are different too, but there are a lot of parallels. I don't think this will be as bad as 1918, just based on certain advances that we've had in terms of like medicine, but also like just how we interact as a society. But terrifying. But also I'm glad I read it. Like I understand certain things better now because I've read this, and I encourage you, if you're not scared, to read some of this, or I think this one's particularly good. I haven't read any other ones, but just read up on what's happened in the past so that we can understand what's happening now. I think that that's just generally like a very important thing. I never really understood the importance of history until I got older. I just always thought that happened, it's over, like who cares? But history repeats itself so much, it's important for us to look back and see what we did so that we can see what we did wrong, and maybe see what we're doing wrong now based on what happened before. Like maybe we did something right then that we're not doing now. So yeah, that scared the shit out of me, but it was really good. I reread Rebecca, which I have a beat up old copy of somewhere, but I don't know where it is. But I actually listened to it, and I did have it from my Libby ebook. But I mostly listened to it. But yeah, I love Rebecca. It's Daphne du Maurier. It's one of my all-time favorite books. It is so good. It is the version that was in my audiobook had this really great afterword that went into depth sort of about how she was writing it and a lot of the themes in it, and it gave me a better appreciation of the book. It's just so good. And the movie is so good, and they're a little different because the way that the book ends, at the time that they made the movie, they it wouldn't have done well that way. So they sort of PG'd it a little bit and made it more palatable for the audience at the time. But it's still a very good movie. It's very well acted, and the book is very good. They're not so different that like, I mean, it does change a major plot point, but like not so much that it changes the overall story. But it's so good. Anyway. And then there's Withering Heights, which we're not going to talk about because I hate this book. It's another reread that I've done this month. Last month I did 3 rereads. This one I still hate. And by reread, I mean I actually finished this one this time. I have started this book many times in my life. I've had many copies of it. This is just the one that has survived on my bookshelf. And apparently while attempting to read this, I also spilled coffee on it. Do I care? No. I hate this book. All the characters are horrible. They're horrible people. Like, yes, is it beautifully written? Yes. Are the themes like crazy that a woman wrote this the time that they wrote it and all this stuff? Sure, give her credit for that. It's a classic, whatever. There's a reason they're classics. I don't think this holds up though. I think the plot of this does not hold up. It's awful. All the characters are awful. It's multi-generational terribleness. They're horrible people. I don't care about them. I don't want to read any more about your abuse. And Heathcliff, you're disgusting. Go away. I'm over it. So let's talk about things I love. Gentleman in Moscow. Finally finished it. So my copy, I got a new copy of this from Book of the Month as an add-on the other month because this is the copy that I had that went for a swim and some of the pages are stuck together and I can't read it. And I was like 2/3 of the way done with it and it went for a swim. And that was years ago. And so when I saw that they had this as an add-on, I got it because I love Amor Towles and his writing. If you've never read his books, he's got 2. I would read them. They are so beautiful and atmospheric and well written, and they create, so his first book is set in like 1920s New York. This starts in like post-Russian Revolution Moscow and it goes until the 50s. And he just creates the most beautiful worlds where you can, the characters are so well developed and you feel like you're standing beside them while they're doing things because the world is so beautifully described and you're so well immersed and it's so good. They're just, I can't speak highly enough for Amor Towles, and I'm so glad he stopped being a financier and started to write books because originally he was like working on Wall Street or something like that, and he decided to write a book, and now he's got 2, and I hope he writes another one. And yes, I have a slight obsession with this man and his writing because it's just, for me, it is everything. It is so beautiful. So basically, Gentleman in Moscow is this aristocrat post-Russian Revolution who is basically under house arrest in a hotel. And his entire life is lived in this hotel. And all of the people that he knows in his life are, you know, hotel staff or hotel guests. And you get to see, he never leaves the hotel, but you see the world around him changing through the way that the hotel changes and the way that the clientele changes and the way that just the relationships that he builds. It's beautifully executed. This device of having this locked main character who cannot leave his world, living in a world where around him, outside of that, where he's stuck, everything is changing so crazily, like throughout. It's so good. I can't even explain. Sneeze. So we just need to read it. It is beautiful. I'm gonna shut up because it's just good and you need to just go read it. Fun book of the month. Yep. If you have extra book of the month credits, I would get it. Okay, and so then the last 2 books that I read And please, Lord, I hope this is 17 because I don't want to come back and film anything because this has already been 27 minutes. Are 2 wonderful graphic novels, like middle grade graphic novels that somebody told me to buy. And it is the Tea Dragon Society and the Tea Dragon Festival. And they're about these tea dragons that are difficult to raise, and other things happen within the little stories, like a sort of like little lessons about self and stuff, and they're just really sweet, and the dragons are really cute, and they made me so happy to read and round out my months. These are like the last 2 things I read, and just made me so absolutely happy. So yeah, that's everything I read this month. I hope you guys had a really good reading month too. I do have a little haul that includes these guys that I want to film for you guys as well, if I can get it done. Yeah, so I hope that you enjoy. I hope you're all safe and healthy, and I'm sending you guys all the love. Please remember to like and subscribe and follow me on Instagram if you don't already. And yeah, that's it. All right, guys. Bye.